I hope everybody's tuning into the Meta FTC trial happening right now with Zuckerfuck and the Funky Facebook group. Because if Zuckerberg pulls a dub out of this, like if he somehow gets a win and surpasses this inevitable consequence of following Peter Thiel and attempting to monopolize an industry, but not calling it monopoly because we don't even know how to define what industry they're in. I'm going to tell you one thing right now. If Zuckerberg wins, you will see the end of content creators, the forced implementation of AI creators, which in turn leads to the destruction of the creator economy, meaning that we don't even have to worry about creators getting on here, getting an opportunity to get paid, and then spreading political violence. No. Our content creators are going to do what we tell them to do, and they're going to funnel our information, indoctrination. Forgive me, it's ignorance for the most part. And they will take up these opportunities that were sourced and created by human beings in this digital universe as a means of making sure that there is nobody who achieves popularity by creating dissenting opinions against the leading government. Because again, Zuckerberg has already played his cards. I like girls, I like beers, I like sex on that Joe Rogan podcast. So do not question Mark Zuckerberg's masculinity, all right? But the reason why in the real world, like outside of rich people being able to pay off lawyers and shit, Zuckerberg doesn't just lose this trial. Zuckerberg goes to jail for the digital psychosis that somehow Western psychologists don't want to pinpoint, but is actively destroying our culture and our society and will definitely have lasting effects going into the next 25 years. But we might not even see those effects going into those 25 years because we're probably going to clothesline as many people as possible into this convenience culture of artificial intelligence integration into our society, meaning that instead of just being addicted to these smartphones and digital platforms, they will be fully cyborg integrated into these digital technologies of the future. And as a human being, if you can't separate yourself from the technology that you're codependent onto, but you don't own that technology, somebody else does, you're basically a slave to the person who owns the technology that you're codependent to, because that's the hand that feeds you. And I keep on speaking about digital psychosis. I hope if any of these professional freaking thought leaders or whatnot use it, I hope you tag my ass in that motherfucker. But it's just interesting to me that we don't speak about, like, we live in such a victim blaming society. We point the finger at children who utilize smartphones and say, look at the things you're watching are bad. You're negatively influencing yourself. Like, when did we take responsibility away from the person who created the product, Zuckerberg and friends? When are we going to give responsibility to the people who've made billions trying to become trillionaires off of this economy? When are we going to hold the people that have made billions off of exploiting the attention economy and negatively influencing and destroying the self-concept and self-perception of young people? And mind you, this isn't just one of those things like you can wean off of. Like, this isn't like a cigarette or something you can wean off of. Our entire society is leveraging this as like these digital realities as like essential industries. Meaning that as long as the collective benefit outweighs the perceived negatives of this platform and these kind of spaces existing, then we're going to continue to face the consequences collectively of these platforms that we still aren't totally sure of, because there's been just enough negative use cases to just blame the victims of those cases and act like Zuckerberg is some just like, I barely know how to speak English. I don't know, autism, like I can't, and then he just like skates by, not taking accountability. And if I can be honest with you guys, there's been about 4 times, I've probably done about like 50 hours of research on just Meta itself. There's been about 4 times in the history of Facebook, especially at that name change, but there's been about 4 or 5 times in this company's history they should have been done. The only reason why they're not done, government contracts. And you know why I believe they have government contracts? Because Meta and these social media platforms are the perfect tool for self-induced mass surveillance. Getting people to popularize recording everything and every fucking buddy and everything that they do and everywhere they go, getting people to constantly have the cameras on, constantly be seeking validation, salvation, some kind of engagement, dopamine from these platforms, and just shift our attention, our focus, and our energetic investment completely to these devices and the technologies that exist on them. The same way that Palantir is military technology for the United States, the same way that SpaceX is, again, military technology, the same way that Twitter is becoming military technology. It's all of these tech companies in the United States. They're not even making any money necessarily. They are making money, but they aren't making money as substantially as you think from legal business. Most of their money comes from, you might not want to accept this, illegal business allowed to take place on the platforms until it gets so egregiously big and noticeable that a federal agency has to come and punish these guys. And then the other side of that shit that you guys don't hear of, because you think the only thing that this is like, oh, you can sell ads and products on these platforms. Like, that's how they make all their money. No. They make a significant chunk of their money. Go check out Elon Musk finances. They make a significant chunk of their money through taxpayer dollars through these government contracts. Because if billionaires don't pay their taxes and they just want to pay the interest on the absence of those taxes being paid, or somehow like skate over the IRS, and the only people paying their taxes and really being punished for not are poor people, and now these billionaires are destroying all social welfare that would support those same poor people that are being exploited for their tax dollars, and they're funneling all funds to these specific aspects of the government, which they can leverage and levy to fund their own pet projects. Oh, this is now the rich don't even have to scam us anymore. They don't even have to convince us to buy shit that we don't need. They're taking the government that we are codependent onto. They're taking the government that we are codependent onto, and they're just saying, you know what? All input goes to us, and there will just not be any more output. Okay, I'm making this like a more ecosystem conversation. I want to really focus this on how much I dislike Mark Zuckerberg. At the end of the day, the FTC is not going to see this video. I wish they did, or I wish I was like a Nepo baby who was like around these circles so these people could hear the conversations I'm having. That would help me a lot. But the main issue that I want to speak of is that Zuckerberg and Meta, as it is basically running a globalized country. And if you don't hold him accountable to the standards of a king or of a ruler or a president, it's not even one country, it's a bunch of countries and peoples of countries existing on this platform. If he doesn't have any kind of ethics protocol, if he doesn't have any kind of ecosystem beyond his ownership and like ridiculous power freaking kink in like the system, the greatest thing that social media and Facebook will ever be is just mass surveillance and like a bloodbath of enmeshed peoples and cultures that don't know how to identify themselves. So they just tear each other down for the sake that they can, or for the hopes that they can be validated or like accepted by the top percent of the platform to then hopefully turn this hobby into a job. This conversation has been everywhere. So I'll conclude it with saying this. If Zuckerberg loses this and he's forced to sell Instagram, he's forced to sell WhatsApp, and he finally has to stand on his own skinny little 2 feet on Facebook and the degeneracy that exists on that platform, I promise to God, you will not hear from Mark Zuckerberg again. You will not hear from Mark Zuckerberg again. And the best part about that is you're about to see about 10 to 12 new tech entrepreneurs of new social media platforms, new digital networking, new community building platforms. I got my own platform coming on too, so I'm waiting for Zuckerberg to get his ass up out of there so we can get some VC money in this motherfucker. But it's going to be the grasp that social media took on people, as destructive as it is to our mental health. It took subcultures of a world that was only had one culture, and it showed us that there was all these subcultures that existed beneath the ground if you're willing to search and look for them. But now we've enmeshed everybody onto this one streamline called the mainstream, and now everyone's trying too much to be like each other, and nobody's really looking within or feeling confident enough to be who they are within to create that new culture. So the next phase of this shit is decentralization. Take out all the monopolies, create new leaders, allow new opportunities and new companies to grow. And then from those companies will come new opportunities, come new cultures, come new community. And we can act like Zuckerberg never fucking happened. But if Zuckerberg wins this trial, I'm telling you guys right now, there is hell to pay on these digital platforms. You may never get the truth again on this platform or on any of these